Hello everyone and welcome back to my IELTS stream. In today's video, we are going to learn about General Writing Task 1, which is letters. So in the IELTS General module, the candidates are required to write letters instead of reports or summaries like we do in the Academic Task 1. And in this video, we are going to see the basics of the letter writing, and we are also going to see the band descriptors and what is the best way how you can score 7 bands in the task 1 of letter writing. So you need to write a minimum of 150 words. So just like the academic task 1, even the general task 1 requires you to have a minimum of 150 words. And the average time that you should be spending on it should be 20 minutes. In the actual IELTS test, you will be given a total of 1 hour for your writing module, and it is up to you how much time you give to the task 1 and how much you give to the task 2. But the recommended time period for task 1 is 20 minutes and for task 2 is 40 minutes. And I would advise you to stick to that. You will have 1 main question and 3 bullet points. So this is how the question for a general task 1 usually is arranged. You will have 1 main question and you will have 3 bullet points, and you will need to follow through with all the 4 things. There will be 2 types of letters, formal and informal. Now some teachers might tell you that there are 3 types of letters, formal, semi-formal and informal. But we at my IELTS stream, we only follow 2 types of letters, formal and informal. The reason is that when we start telling students to follow a semi-formal tone of writing, they usually get too confused and they don't really know how much formal they should be and how much informal they should be. So they don't really know how to balance things out, and it creates a lot of confusion. And we, by our own experience, are sure that following just these 2 ways, methods and tones of letters is enough for scoring 7 or above in the general task 1. It requires proper tone of language. So this is the main thing that you need to follow when it comes to general writing task 1. Proper tone of language. If your letter is formal, you're writing it for professional purposes, then your language should be formal. It should not have any contractions and it should not seem too friendly. Whereas in the informal letters, which you will be writing to your friends, you are required to use contractions, and at the same time you should sound friendly and comfortable. So using proper tone of language is very essential to scoring a 7. The judgment criteria is the same as you have for writing task 2. Task achievement, coherence and cohesion, grammatical range and accuracy, and lexical resource. Now we will look into detail for all these 4 things. Task achievement. So these are the official band descriptors provided by the British Council and IDP. We are going to take a look into the activities of a 7 band candidate, and we are going to discuss and understand how to follow them. So in order to score 7 in task achievement, the candidate covers the requirements of the task, presents a clear purpose with the tone consistent and appropriate. So once you are covering the requirements of the task, what does it mean? It means that you're covering the main question and the bullet points. You're covering all the 4 things. And presents a clear purpose with the tone consistent and appropriate. So write the purpose of the letter clearly. Many teachers miss out on this thing. They don't really tell the students that they should be writing the purpose of the letter in the answer as well, but it is actually very important. Without writing a clear purpose, you will not be able to score a 7 in task achievement. So the purpose of the letter means why you are writing this letter, which will be mentioned in the main question. It will not be mentioned in the bullet points, but it will be mentioned in the main question, and you are required to have a separate paragraph, especially for writing your purpose. with the tone consistent and appropriate. So for the formal method of writing, you should not use any contractions, and you should have a proper formal tone throughout the letter. So if your tone is inconsistent, it means that at some places you are formal and at other places you are not formal. So this will cost you your marks in task achievement section. Clearly presents and highlights key features or bullet points, but could be more fully extended. So in order to achieve this one, you should present each bullet point with proper details. So not just mentioning the things that are there in the bullet point, but you are required to support them with proper details, and you are required to extend those ideas. So if you perform these 3 or 4 points properly, hopefully you will be able to score a 7 in the task achievement section. Coherence and cohesion. This is the second band descriptor, and these are the points required for a 7-band score in this section. Logically organizes information and ideas. There is clear progression throughout. So this means that your paragraphing should be accurate, which is the structure. So your letter must be properly organized. There should be a proper paragraphing. Many students miss out on the paragraphing thing. They don't really understand that you are required to leave a line between 2 paragraphs. If you don't do that, you will hardly score a 5 in coherence and cohesion. So be very sure about this, that you are leaving a line between 2 paragraphs, and at the same time you have a separate paragraph for each bullet point. Uses a range of cohesive devices appropriately, although there may be some under or overuse. So this means that cohesive devices should be used in the right places and in the right number. Now you will find a lot of IELTS gurus out there, a lot of fake IELTS teachers who will tell you that as the more number of cohesive devices you use, the better you're going to score. But that is very incorrect guidance. I would say that that is one of the worst directions that you could give to an IELTS candidate. It has been seen in our experience and in the experience of our students that cohesive devices should only be used in the right places. You shouldn't start off by writing firstly and then give 1 point, then write secondly and then give another point, and then write furthermore in another point, and then additionally in another point. So that's not how it goes. That is not actually a good way. That is not appropriate use of cohesive devices. If you want to score 7 in cohesion and coherence, you are required to use cohesive devices only when needed and at the right places. Grammatical range and accuracy. Uses a mix of simple and complex sentence forms. Makes some errors in grammar and punctuation, but they rarely reduce communication. So another thing that a lot of IELTS teachers do is that they tell their students that you should have every single sentence a complex sentence in your answer. That is just another way of misguiding the students. You should include both simple and complex sentences, because the band descriptors clearly state that there should be a mix of simple and complex sentences. Yes, most of your sentences should be complex, but you are not required to have your entire answer with complex sentences. The second point is make some errors in grammar and punctuation, but they rarely reduce communication. So even at a 7 band for grammatical range and accuracy, you could be making some mistakes. But the mistakes should not be so serious that your communication lags behind. If I read your answer and I'm able to understand what you're trying to say in every sentence, that is good enough. But if I'm reading your answer and I'm not able to understand what point you're trying to put across, then that is bad. That is bad accuracy. And with that kind of mistakes, you will not be able to score 7 in grammatical range and accuracy. Lexical resource, which also means vocabulary, uses a sufficient range of vocabulary to allow some flexibility and precision. So your range of vocabulary should be sufficient according to the question. Like whatever is required in the question, you should be able to use that, use vocabulary which can actually easily carry out your answer, and you should be able to have some flexibility. By flexibility, we mean that you should know a certain range of synonyms. And by precision, we mean that you should actually put words in the right places. You shouldn't just use heavy words just for the sake of it at the wrong places, but you should use synonyms, and you should have a good range of words, and you should use them at the right places. Uses less common lexical items with some awareness of style and collocation. So this also means sort of the same thing, that you know more words and you are aware about where to put these words, what would be the sentence framing for these words, what would be the context of these words. So just because one word is a synonym of another word, it doesn't mean that it will always replace it. So if you Google a word and you look for synonyms, you will find a long list of synonyms. But then just because Google tells you that word A is a synonym of word B, it doesn't mean that A and B can replace each other in every context. In order to know the context of the synonyms, you need to look at examples, you need to read books, you need to actually have an extensive knowledge of the English language. I'm not trying to scare you here, but that is the best way to learn vocabulary, is to be consistent and to actually read a lot. May produce occasional errors in word choice, spelling, and or word formation. So even with 7 bands in Lexical Resource, it is possible that the candidate would make mistakes in choosing words, in some spellings, or in word formation. By word formation, we mean that there can be different forms of the word. A single word can appear as an adjective, it can appear as an adverb, it can appear sometimes as a noun. So you might use the wrong form of the word at some places. But remember that you are allowed to make some mistakes in 7 bands, but not a lot of mistakes, because 7 bands also has these 2 different requirements, and knowing the context of the synonyms and the different places that they can replace each other is actually a bit of hard work, and it takes hard work, and you should be precise enough if you want to score 7. The types of questions in the IELTS General Module Task 1 Writing are formal and informal. So informal letters can also be called as friendly letters. That's just a word that I will be using to make it easier for you, because I don't want you to get confused when I repeatedly say formal and informal. So I will be using the word friendly letters. Types of formal letters. They can be complaint letters, like you are writing letters to your local council because your garbage is not being collected from outside of your house and your neighborhood now is facing a lot of issues because of it. Then making formal arrangements for a meeting or an event. So this is another type of letter that you could write where you work for a company and you need to organize a conference or you need to organize an event. You study in a university and you are required to organize an event. So you need to make some formal arrangements. You need to contact some event managers, or you need to contact some hotel managers and get a few things done. Letters to local council for different purposes. Now, the local council is something that can be used in a range of different questions. So, like I said, in the first category of question, you are required to write a letter to the local council complaining about the failure of the garbage collection system. So, the local council can be written to for a lot of different reasons, like even if you want to talk about something good, like if you have a plan in your mind about how to help the homeless of your city and you wish to write it to the local council, you want to share your idea and you want to advise them on it. So again, you will be required to write a letter to your local council. I'm just giving examples. So there can be more than one kind of letter involved in all of these different settings, but I'm just giving you examples so that you get a general idea of what kind of letters are there. Job application letters. So you might be required to write a letter to a company, and you will be required to share your qualifications, your previous work experience, to actually in a way justify why you are worthy of that position and what you would like to do, why you want the job. Such kind of things will be there in the bullet points. Job resignation letters. So this is the type of letter that I have faced in my own examination. So I was required to write a letter where I resigned from a job, and I was required to give my reasons as to why I want to resign. Then apart from that, I was also required to present the positive aspects of the job. And then after that, I was required to give information about what would be my last working day and what are the other arrangements that I need to make in order to leave the job. Feedback letters. So I can give you a scenario. You attended a particular cooking class, and they ask you to write a feedback letter so that they can post it on their website, and more prospective students can come in and read your feedback so that they have a better knowledge about the cooking classes. So in this feedback letter, you might get bullet points where they ask you to write about what you liked the most about the classes. Then they might ask for your recommendation to make any changes. If you think that the classes should make any changes, they will ask you to write that. So feedback letters are also a common type of question in the writing task 1. Letters to colleagues. Now, you might be required to write a letter to your manager to ask for leave. You might be required to write a letter to a co-worker who is at the same level of position as you, and you might be required to ask them to cover for you in your absence. Another thing is, you might be required to write a letter to someone asking for information. So there can be different cases in this particular category. Number 8, letters to request for something. Now, requesting letters are again very common, and you might be required to request your manager for leave. You might be required to request your manager to financially support a particular course that you want to do, which would be a benefit for the manager and the company as well. Or else you might be required to request something from the local council, and you might be requesting for information. It can be anything. Types of informal letters. Helping a friend in making a decision. So this is a question which was asked in the exam, and which is probably also present in the Cambridge books, where a friend is asking for your advice in a decision-making process, as she or he is confused if they should attend school or if they should start working. So in the bullet points for this particular question, you would be required to actually tell the friend why you think a particular thing would be better for him or her, and you would be required to even assess your own friend and see if he or she is compatible for job or if they are compatible for work, and then write the whole letter. Requesting a friend for help. So there was this letter which we came across. It was when you were required to go on a work trip and you request your friend to look after your dog. So in this case, the bullet points would be like, tell your friend how to feed your dog, tell your friend how to behave with your dog, and other things like that, and how to contact, and tell your friend how to contact you in case something goes wrong. Inviting a friend for an event or a vacation. So this is another scenario where you plan to go for a vacation or you plan to go for an event, and you ask your friend to come with you, to accompany you, so that you both can go and have fun. Sometimes it's not a vacation to another place. Sometimes you just invite your friend over to your country so that you can show them your country and you could have a good time together. Thanking a friend for something they did. So this is another question where you did go on a vacation with your friends, and then they took a lot of pictures and they sent you those pictures through mail, and now you are required to thank them for sending you the pictures. So I'm just giving you one example of the type of questions that come. So I'm not saying that if you get this particular category of question, then that would be the exact question. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what happens. Congratulating a friend. So let's say you got to know that your friend recently graduated from university. You are required to write a letter congratulating him or her for this accomplishment. And the bullet points could be that you are required to tell your friend how amazing a job they did. Even though they were struggling to study, still they did a good job. So the bullet points can vary, but they will be around the main question of congratulating a friend. Telling a friend about something good or bad that happened with you. So it could, the scenario in category 5 could be reversed, and let's say you graduated, but now you are required to write a letter to your friend who is very close to you, and you are required to tell them that you have graduated, and you are required to include details of how you graduated. Was it easy? Was it difficult? When did you graduate? What are your future plans? That kind of thing. So these are the different types of questions, different types of informal or friendly questions that can come. This is not an exhaustive list. There could be other types of questions, but this video is here just to give you a basic idea of what happens in General Writing Task 1. Sample formal question. You recently organized an all-day meeting at your company which took place in a local hotel, but they were unhappy about the food that was served for lunch. So this is the main question. These are the bullet points. Write a letter to the manager of the hotel. In your letter, say what the participants liked about the hotel. Explain why they were unhappy about the food. Suggest what the manager should do to improve the food in the future. So this is a typical letter. It's like a feedback letter. Something was good, but then something was bad as well. And you are also required to give suggestions on what to do. So how will you approach this particular question? You would start off by writing your purpose. Then you would make a separate paragraph for the first bullet point, then another one for the second, and then another one for the last one. Say what the participants like about the hotel. So you should not give vague details like my colleagues were really happy with your service, but what service? You are required to give specific details like your staff was very respectful and friendly, the hotel was very clean, and the timings at which we were required to have the meeting were well maintained, and the conference room was well organized, and all the equipments that it had were really useful for us. So that kind of information you're required to give. You're required to be specific and give details, not talk in vague terms. Explain why they were unhappy about the food. So you shouldn't just say that we didn't like the food because it was not tasty. You should give specifics like the food was too spicy and some people had to take antacids after their lunch because they started to feel uncomfortable. You could say that some people actually had to overcompensate by drinking a lot of water, but then also the spice was so much that they felt thirsty for hours after the lunch too. So such kind of details you should give. Suggest what the manager should do to improve the food in the future. So you could just make a suggestion that I recommend that you hire another cook who does not actually specialize in spicy dishes but specializes in a variety of different dishes that would suit the taste of different people. So you should give some nice suggestions. So this is just how you should approach the question. Sample informal letter. A friend you made while you were studying abroad has written to ask you for help in finding a job in your country. You have heard about a job in a local company that might be suitable for him or her. Write a letter to this friend. In your letter, tell your friend about the job and what sort of work it involves. Say why you think the job will be suitable for him or her and explain how to apply for the job. Excuse me. So this is the main question and these are the 3 bullet points. So you will start this letter by writing the purpose just like we did in the formal letter, and then you would require then you should make a separate paragraph for each bullet point. Tell your friend about the job and what sort of work it involves. So be specific, give details, what kind of job have you found for your friend. Then say why you think the job is suitable for him or her. So this point has more to do with your friend because the job is suitable for him or her. So you know your friend, you know their character, you know what they like, you know what they don't like, you know their behavior. So you are supposed to go deep into those things and match those things with the type of job that you are suggesting for them. So this is what you're required to do in the 2nd bullet point. And in the 3rd bullet point, explain how to apply for the job. So what are the formalities? What are the paperwork? What is the paperwork required for applying for the job, and how would things get easier, how to communicate with a particular authority. So this is the kind of information that you are required to write about the last bullet point. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped you in understanding what is the General Writing Task 1. We at my IELTS stream train a lot of students, and most of them are satisfied with our work, and we have helped a lot of people score 8777 in the general module. If there is anything that you need help with, do contact us on our Facebook page, My IELTS Stream. You can also send us an email on My IELTS Stream at myiltstream123@gmail.com. We will be more than happy to help you with your preparation. Thank you and have a nice day.